Have you ever wondered the different people or the different teams involved in your project? That is precisely what we are going to talk about when we discuss the functions associated with projects. This topic comes from the standard for project management, which is something that you must read if you are preparing for the PMP exam. It is part of your PMBOK guide itself, and I'll share a link to all the videos that we have done around topics from the standard for project management. So we got you covered. Check out the second link in the description. It is the entire playlist. It is the second link because the first link is an associated article on this topic. So if you would rather read about this topic than watching a video, then check that first link out. So two important links. Let's get started. So what are functions? And I talked about it in the beginning also. You can read functions as different verticals or different teams or even a group of people or maybe even a single person. So a single person may be responsible for a certain function that is associated with the project. Now these functions are fulfilled by project team and they are needed during project delivery, which is of course a given, right? And you as a project manager, your basic job is to be able to coordinate a collective work effort between all these different functions. This is a good single line description of what you as a project manager, your basic job is. You need to coordinate a collective work effort between the different functions. And what are these different functions? We are going to talk about these functions in the coming slide. So stick around. Now, different projects, they may require different coordination types. So some projects, they need decentralized coordination. Think of scrum teams, right? Think of agile environment. This is where project team members, they self-organize and they basically self-manage. So you don't really need a project manager, a traditional project manager there. You might need a scrum master, you might need a program manager who maybe is acting at a scrum of scrums level, but that is a kind of coordination required in certain projects. Now, some projects, they may require centralized coordination. So when you think about centralized coordination, think about traditional project managers, think about a strong matrix or a projectized kind of environment. And this is where a leadership and a guidance of a designated project manager or even a PMO is required. There are also projects where some part or some specific portion of the projects, they require self-organized teams, while the rest of the portion is a centralized coordination kind of environment. So different projects are obviously going to require different coordination types, and we talked about these because, like I said earlier, this is the basic job of a project manager, coordinating between these different functions. Okay, so let's talk about these functions now. Now, the list of functions include and not limited to, remember, this is not an exhaustive list, not a comprehensive list by any means. And certain projects may require additional functions as well based on the deliverables, the project, the organization, industry, and other such variables. But these are high level functions that you might see on all projects. Provide oversight and coordination. So this is a function. Now a group of people, a group of teams, or a single person might be performing this function of providing oversight and coordination. Present objectives and feedback, facilitate and support, perform work and contribute insights, apply expertise, provide business direction and insight. And we'll talk about all of these in detail in the coming slides. So do stick around. Provide resources and direction and maintain governance. So for this slide, your takeaway is that this is a list of function, not an exhaustive one for sure, but these are basically the common functions that you will find in almost all projects. And a team or several teams or even a single person might be responsible to perform these functions. Now let's talk about each of these function in detail. A quick reminder, if you're looking to clear your PMP exam, head over to pmclounge.com/PMP study plan and download the study plan for free. So let's talk about the first function, provide oversight and coordination. And this function is responsible to ensure the project team achieves the project objectives. Very simple, right? What are the project objectives that are defined? And this function, the function that is providing oversight and coordination, it is responsible to ensure that the project team is able to achieve it. Now, what are the activities required for this function, right? It includes planning, it includes monitoring and controlling, evaluation and analysis of pre-project activities, consulting with executives and BU leaders. BU is business unit basically, and improving project performance, benefits realization, and sustainment activities, which is pre-project closure. You do some kind of sustainment activities for the project to sustain, right? Or the deliverables of the project to sustain. So the function is tailored to fit the organization need and is mostly performed by higher management. A project manager might also be involved in this, but remember, this is high level oversight, this is high level coordination, where if a project manager is involved, the project manager is actually doing the actual project management work and not just part of a lower level project expediter kind of role where the responsibility is just to expedite a project, right? So if you are a project manager and if you are performing this kind of activities as well, you're performing this function, then you are considered a part of higher management as well, or someone who's coordinating with the higher management to ensure oversight and coordination function is taken care of for your project. All right, so let's talk about the next function, which is present objectives and feedback. This function is responsible for providing perspectives, insights, and clear direction from customers and end users. Activities include sharing project requirements, outcomes, expectations, and feedback. Now, this is obviously something that a project manager is not responsible for. In adaptive and hybrid project environments, so think about agile environment, think about scrum, right? The need for ongoing feedback is greater because they do incremental delivery, right? So that is why feedback is very, very important in that kind of environment. This function is mostly performed by the customer or an end user or a customer representative like a product manager or a product owner or even a customer advocate. So these are the people who are responsible to provide this function, to perform this function as part of your project. Now, some people basically have confusion between what a customer is and what an end user is. So customer is someone who requests or provides funding for the project, while end user uses or experiences the project deliverables directly. So I just added that line if you're confused between what exactly is a customer and what exactly is an end user. Let's move on. The next function is facilitate and support. This function is responsible for providing oversight and coordination. Activities include encouraging the team to participate, collaborate, inculcate a shared sense of responsibility. Are you smelling project manager here? Resolve conflicts and make decisions. This also requires facilitation for coordinating meetings and contributing in an unbiased way. So this function is mostly performed by the project manager and may also involve additional activities like addressing obstacles, evaluating performance of the team, and providing individuals and project teams with feedback to help them learn, adapt, and improve. So facilitate and support, this function is definitely something which falls in the purview of a project manager. Remember, a project manager might be involved in several of the functions that we are talking about, right? It's not like one person is responsible for just one function of the project. Perform work and contribute insights. This function is responsible for providing skills, knowledge, and experience necessary to produce the products, outcomes, deliverables of the project. So think about software project, then skills are obviously software development, right? Activities include work that requires highly specialized skill sets and even broad skill sets, gain insights from cross-functional team members to provide a mix of internal perspectives, establish alliances with the business units, and even support functions as deliverables are transitioned to operations. This is when your deliverables are ready and you are basically transitioning your deliverables to operations to the support function, right? So perform work and contribute insights is definitely something which is not something that a project manager does directly, but it is definitely something that the project team does. And I took an example of a software project. So skills are obviously software development, and these are the specialized skill sets, maybe even broad skill sets also required, like the logic of creating a certain software or solving a certain problem using coding, using programming, right? So perform work and contribute insights. This is something that the project team owns. Let's talk about applying expertise. So this function is responsible for providing knowledge, vision, and expertise in a specific subject for a project. So do you smell a subject matter expert here? The activities for this function, it includes providing advice, providing support, and contributing to the project team's learning process as well as work accuracy. This function could be involved throughout or at some specific stage of the project as well. The function is mostly performed by SME, subject matter experts, and external or internal consultants. So these are the people who basically take care of the apply expertise function of your project. Next is provide business direction and insight. So we are talking in business terms now. This function is responsible for providing guidance and clarify the direction of the project or the product of the project. Activities include prioritizing the requirements or whatever the backlog items are. And I hope you've guessed a product manager or a product owner coming into the picture here. Dependencies, technical or operational risk, providing feedback to project teams, setting directions for next increment and deliverables. There is significant interaction required with other stakeholders, customers, and project teams to ensure value of project deliverable is maximized. So these are the activities that are performed, right? This function is mostly performed by product owner, product manager, or higher management. When you do not have a product owner or a product manager, you are working in, let's say, a services environment, not a product environment, right? So higher management is going to perform this function. In adaptive and hybrid environments, the guidance can be provided using a specific cadence, like let's say every sprint, every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, right? While designated checkpoints can be used in predictive environment. So when you're talking about waterfall model, you may have specific checkpoints or decision gates or milestones that can be used to perform this function for presentation of and feedback on the project progress. Okay, so the next function is provide resources and direction. This function is responsible for promoting the project and communicate the organization's vision, goals, and expectations to the project team and even other stakeholders. So there are a lot of activities required in this function. And when you read through the activities, you will realize that we are not talking about a project manager here, because things are way beyond a project manager's paycheck. So activities include advocating for the project and the project team by helping them secure the decision and the resources and authority that allow the project activities to progress. So who is going to provide such decision and resources and authorities to the project team? It is not the project manager. It is someone who is above the project manager. This function also acts as a liaison between senior management and project team, keeping the project aligned with business objectives. So someone who has view of the business objectives as well, right? Remove obstacles and issues outside the bounds of the project team's decision authority, right? So this means removing obstacles which are outside the bounds of the project manager, to be honest, right? As well as providing the escalation path. So this function is also the escalation path for problems, issues, or risks that project teams cannot handle by themselves. It could be shortage of funding or resources. So What would you do if you are out of funds or if you are short on funds on your project, right? You are obviously going to reach out to the sponsor of the project or the program or portfolio manager responsible for your project, right? They may monitor project outcomes to ensure intended business benefits are realized. So, like I said, provide resources and direction. This function is performed by people who are above the project manager in the corporate hierarchy. Maintain governance. Now, this one is interesting because when you read maintain governance, you might feel that this is something that a project manager does, which is true. But let's talk more about it. So, this function is responsible for approving and supporting recommendations made by the project team as well as monitor project progress. Activities include maintaining collaborations between project teams. So, there are different project teams involved here, and you are maintaining collaborations between them and strategic or business objectives that can change over the course of the project. So if you're working on a project that, let's say, spans 5 years, who is making sure that the strategic and business objectives are also aligned with the project that you are delivering, right? This is where a project management office comes into the picture, because this again is beyond the purview of a project manager. We are talking about different teams, we are talking about collaborations between different teams, right? We are talking about maintaining governance not at a project level but at an organization level, and that is where a project management office comes into the picture. And that's all that we had in this video. I hope you got value out of it and were able to understand the different functions required to deliver a project. Like, share, subscribe. If you like our work, consider contributing by hitting the thanks button or heading over to pmclounge.com/contribute. Don't forget to check out our website, pmclounge.com, your number one free PMP and project management resource. Thank you and have a nice day.